Right here. Ask him that right here.
No,
Never last.
Don't ask me anything.
One of the good
I have
guys
no
in boxing,
comment.
Ernie. Manny Robles, it's good to see you once again. Just tell us about this card today. You got a fighter today?
Yeah, Ramla Ali. She's the only female
the
fighter
girl,
on the card. Yeah, Olympian Ramla Ali.
She's from the UK. I've heard
from
of
the
her.
UK. She's fighting, representing Somalia, her country, her native
Yeah,
country.
Somalian. She's an Olympian too, huh? I
Yes, she
think.
is. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How'd you connect with her? That's pretty
Well,
cool.
you know, boxing. You meet people.
All the worlds cross there, huh?
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing about the sport.
Yeah. What have you been working with her? What do you want to see from her?
Well, get her to sit on her punches. Work the body, make her punches count, work her distance. She's an Olympian, so she's a good boxer. Good counter puncher. But I think that this is her fifth fight as a pro. So really just working on the transition from amateur to pro still. And this is my first fight with her, and they want me to work with her on sitting on her punches, making her punches count, being more aggressive, and I think that's what you'll get a chance to see.
You work with you're one of the very few trainers I see that consistently works with like a woman's corner or trains a woman.
It's just one of those things where that boxing's led me to start working with women, and I got a couple of females and other females in the gym that I work
Meyer
with.
one, I think
right,
your sister
Michaela
corner.
Mayer,
Yeah.
I'm a sister in the corner. And,
She's got a big fight coming up.
Exactly. She'll
Yeah.
be fighting April 9th. I'm looking forward to that here in Southern California. So yeah.
Yeah. How's that any different? Like having to work with a woman over.
Guys, it's definitely different. It's different. Well, look, I'll tell you what. Women work extremely hard.
They can fight.
They can fight, and they work extremely hard. I'm not saying that they work harder than the boys do, but they know what they want. Some of the females I work with. I have a young girl, Perla Basaldua. She's a top-rated amateur in the amateur game in the nation, and she's definitely game. She's a hard-working girl, man, and I'm impressed with the way she goes about her business and her discipline. Ramla, the way she handles herself and her discipline and her hard work, her dedication. I mean, they really feel like they're behind from where the men are.
So they gotta work just as hard.
They gotta work harder, even harder to make a name for themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Manny, I gotta ask you about Virgil Ortiz. I know you were assisting his corner to some extent.
Yeah.
What happened there? Can you give us any update on him, how he's doing, and what happened with Virgil?
Excuse me. Yeah, Virgil's doing better now. I mean, unfortunately, he had to pull out of the fight. You noticed something in the gym. He wasn't being himself, especially his dad. Who knows him better than his dad does? You noticed that he wasn't being himself, that he needed attention, that he needed to go see a doctor. So that's exactly what happened. He took him to go see a doctor. They ran tests on him, and then it just so happens that those tests came out positive, and his liver was damaged, his kidneys were being damaged, and by obviously who better than the doctor to explain, and I'm sure you'll hear it from Golden Boy to get a better perspective and a better outlook on what happened. But all I can tell you is that he wasn't being himself physically, and so he needed direct attention. Again, this test came back positive. Came back to Golden Boy. Golden Boy sent him to their doctor, and again those tests came out positive again, and they concurred that he wasn't going to be able to fight. And at the end of the day, it's for the fighter's well-being. I mean, you risk your life every time. It's a dangerous sport. You risk your life every time you step into that ring. So I believe the right decision was made, and he'll be back. He'll be back.
Just the co-main event has now been bumped up to the main event.
Correct.
Alexis Rocha versus Blair. Cobbs. What do you think of the matchup?
It's going to be a great fight. It's worthy of a main event. This is it's going to be a good, entertaining fight, and the winner's obviously going to be able to move on and possibly get a shot at the world title.
Yeah. Virgil was in there working with Brian Castaño. Obviously, you can't give up any secrets, but Castaño's got a big fight coming up, a rematch with Charlo.
Yeah.
Just give me your thoughts on how he's looking and what do you expect in that fight, the rematch?
Oh, it's going to be a great fight. I mean, I believe Castaño won the first fight, and I think he's got a possibility to call it a draw. could have went either way, but in my opinion, I believe he won the fight. And the second fight will be just as good. I mean, Charlo's a great champion. Respect him. He's got 3 of the 4 belts. He's a very well-respected fighter, and as well as Castaño is. So, it's going to be a Barnburner, man. And I think it's going to end up being better than the first fight itself.
And I think maybe next Saturday you got to travel to Minneapolis with Terrell Gausha for Tim Tszyu is his U.S. debut. He's looking very good, man. Terrell has been looking great too as late. What do you expect in that matchup? Is the 154 division's hot?
Look, let me tell you, man. At this level, you just mentioned Cobbs and Rocha and Castaño with Charlo. Tim Tszyu versus Terrell Gausha. I mean, fights don't get any better than this. It's at this level. They're evenly matched fights where anybody can walk away with the win. And we expect a great fight. We expect a tough fight, of course. If Terrell's ready. I believe in my fighter. I believe in his capabilities. I believe that this is definitely one of the best camps he's ever had. And, he's going to go out there and ready to shock the world. Yeah,
Tim Tszyu had a media day yesterday. He said a few things. Obviously, he's not looking past Terrell Gausha, but what do you expect from Tim Tszyu, man? How are you preparing for that kind of opponent? He's an import, and it seems like there's a lot of hype around him,
Well, yeah, I mean, he's the son of the legendary Costa Tszyu, and one of the Hall of Famers, one of the greats at 140 pounds, and he defeated Chavez, and and won the world title, Sabjuda, and let me tell you, it's gonna be a good fight. He resembles his dad a lot. If you've seen some of his fights, he fights a lot like his dad, and so we're gonna have our hands full. But I believe in my fighter. I believe in Terrell, his capabilities, his experience. If you look at both fighters' resumes, Terrell has fought a lot harder, tougher opposition, so he's already been there. And with all due respect to Tim Tszyu, he hasn't. And then if you look at his resume, his toughest fight was Jeff Horn. And other than that, I mean, it's his first fight in the United States.
So you think experience is going to happen?
Experience is definitely key. You can't buy experience. It's something that you just gather with time, and that's something that we have the upper hand on. Obviously, Tim Tszyu being a younger fighter, but I believe experience at the end of the day is something that's to our advantage.
I know. You trained Oscar a few years back. I know it's pretty much irrelevant to ask you, but being that you trained him in the past, he's fighting Shakur Stevenson. You know both those fighters well from having trained Shakur as a professional and Valdez as a professional, and then Shakur from the amateur ranks or whatnot. He's even visited your gym when he was about to debut. Just give us your thoughts on the matchup if you have any.
It's going to be a great fight. Another youth versus experience, with Oscar Valdez being there, done that. He's been there, done that. He's fought some tough fights. Champion at 126, now at 130 pounds. Don't take anything away from Shakur. Shakur's an Olympic silver medalist. Oscar being a 2-time Olympian himself. Excuse me. It's an evenly matched fight. 2 great champions. It's going to be a Barnburner. I think styles make fights. Shakur being a boxing purist, a technician, a southpaw, tactical fighter, great using his distance, his range, great counter puncher. And then an Oscar. Come on, what can I say about Oscar? He's proven himself time and time again. Proven himself to be a great champion, to be a great role model in boxing, and I just think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's an evenly matched fight, and may the best fighter win.
Yeah, can you give us a little insight of when he visited the gym? I think Oscar was there too, and many people are starting to make stories that they sparred. I know they didn't spar, but just give us how that moment happened, and then what transpired between Oscar and Shakur when they got a photo together.
It's funny because there's a photo out there where Shakur is wearing Oscar's headgear. So what happened was, they came in asking for sparring. They called me, said come in and spar. So Shakur actually sparred Jesse Magdaleno at the time. Jesse was a world champion at the time, and Shakur was about to turn pro. I don't think he had even turned pro yet. But that's when I got a chance to see Shakur live in the ring spar with Jesse, and it's a great sparring session. But what led to Shakur wearing Oscar's headgear, Shakur shows up to the gym, and Shakur forgot his headgear. So he needed to borrow one. So Oscar let him borrow his headgear, and that's how he ended up wearing his headgear. And anyway, that's what happened. And Shakur sparred Jesse, not Oscar. It was a great sparring session. And then right off the bat, I knew the kid was going to be special and going to eventually become a world champion, and here he is today.